What's going on, guys? Welcome back to We the Champs. I'm your host here, Jalen, and you were tuned in to the finest sports show on the turf, on the earth, in the gym, in the court, on the field, or wherever you might play at. All right. So we're about to get into some NBA playoff action, MLB action, and some NFL breaking news, I guess. But before we do that, do me a quick favor: hit that like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into the mix. All right. So first, I want to hit it off with this. In the NFL, George Pickens was traded to the Cowboys today. And this is a big move, or, pretty much after the draft until about training camp and preseason. It's like the dead period of the NFL. I call this after the last previous years I've called this the Aaron Rodgers filler saga. Okay. But yeah, with this news, George Pickens, wide receiver out of Georgia, that got drafted to the Steelers, is now traded to the Cowboys. And who won this trade? Who knows? All right. So we're looking at these guys. The Steelers, apparently, they had some not so good things going on with George Pickens. I believe he even sat in the not a playoff game. He even sat in the game. There are some reports about him being uncoachable. So this it's not surprising, honestly. And then the move for DK. So when that happened, it's like, all right, let's go build the offense. Let's make it happen. Let's get another vertical threat on the opposite side of George Pickens. And then this happened. So maybe it was a decision to replace George Pickens and extra with getting DK Metcalf. All right. And the Cowboys here, they offered up a third round and a sixth round draft pick for this player. If George Pickens happens to be quote unquote coachable, I definitely like this move for the Cowboys. You're not giving up too much draft capital to get a player who could potentially be better than your 2026 third round pick in George Pickens. So now we're working with CeeDee Lamb and Pickens, opposite sides of the field. Man, if y'all watch any of the Cowboys games this past year, they didn't have another plus capable offensive skill player other than CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they traded, we had Dalton Schultz go to the Texans. The running back situation was dire. I mean, I know they had the little guy out of Kansas State, I think, Deuce Vaughn, and they brought Ezekiel Elliott back. Folks are super hype about that, but he just turned out to be a situational short down yardage back. So the needle really didn't move at all much with Ezekiel Elliott. And Rico Dowdle was supposed to be the featured back, but the Cowboys, one thing they banked on during their pretty strong run of making it to the playoffs and winning 12-plus games was that run game. So that's been vacant. But now you have another receiver who can change the game in a second with George Pickens. So this is definitely a plus for the Cowboys. I still want to see them do more in the run game and just make some more moves. I mean, I feel like this is more about culture here as in what we have going on. And is George Pickens a culture guy? We're going to see. On the Steelers end, it's interesting, man. It's just did the offense get worse? I mean, you have Jaylen Warren as your running back. You have some tight ends. You still have the young prospect and Darnell Washington from Georgia. Big ass dude too. Pat Freiermuth at the tight end position. And I mean, DK Metcalf, of course. And you have a few other receivers, but nobody really making a lot of noise. And then what's really making me pull my hair out, I don't know if y'all remember, I had some more hair a couple weeks ago. Just teasing you. But the quarterback position in Pittsburgh is in dire need too. So, I mean, I think Mason Rudolph's the starter. They have there's another guy, and they drafted Will Howard. So this is funny. Do they plan on this being a blip year, or Are the Steelers just rolling with the same thing? Let's play some hard-nosed defense and make things happen on offense. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they could just be building for the future. From what we can see, Mike Tomlin isn't going nowhere. They're bought into this process, and this was a future move, all right? But after this year, they would have had to pay George Pickens anyways, and maybe they just didn't even want to be in that position with this kind of player on and off the field or whatever we got going on, all right? But I did like that draft pick they had with Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. Like I said before, I just feel like he fits that Pittsburgh Steelers culture, just tough, power runner, big back. And he went to Iowa. He wore pretty much the same uniform. So we're going to see the same guy in that situation. But Steelers, I'm trying to see what you're building, especially on that offensive side of the ball. Cowboys, I think this is a great talent pickup if he can be good to that locker room for the Cowboys. All right. All right. That's all I'm going to hit you with on the NFL right now because, like I said, this is the quiet era. There hasn't been much of the Aaron Rodgers filler, but later I'm going to give you some top 10 lists with receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks, et cetera, and defensive players. All right. Let's get into some hoop talk, man. I usually like doing this segment with the partner, but NBA playoffs has been on fire this postseason since it started up. And let's get into that. All right. So the first series I'm going to talk about is the Warriors and the Timberwolves. Okay. So we had the Warriors push to a game 7 with the Houston Rockets, won that game by arm's length. Wasn't too much surprise there. That was supposed to be a bang it out series. Honestly, that one was a pick 'em. If you pick the Warriors, I don't think you were super, super confident. If you pick the Rockets, I don't think you were super, super confident. Okay. And the other series was Timberwolves and the Lakers. That one was totally surprising. The Wolves kicked the Lakers' butt in 5 games, 4-1. And Edwards outplayed Luka. And now here we are. So game 1 just happened. Definitely a big surprise here. The Warriors stole game 1 in Minnesota with this victory here. All right. And Steph Curry scored 13 points in 13 minutes. And went out with a hamstring injury, which I am not too optimistic about him returning back sooner than later. And if he returns back sooner than later, how effective would he be at 36 years old and sustaining a hamstring injury? That's a week-to-week injury, that's a couple of weeks injury, not a few days. So we'll harp on that later. But right now, let's get into this game. So the Warriors won this game 99-88 at a very, very good arm's length, all right? And what's surprising here is that the Warriors were only on, a 2-day rest before they had to play this game. And the Timberwolves rested since last Thursday or Friday by getting rid of the Lakers here. And this is just shocking. This is a game that the Timberwolves and Edwards as a potential finals contender, this is a game they're supposed to take right here, okay? You got the older Warriors team coming on much less rest than you guys and punching you in the mouth pretty much. I think Anthony Edwards, let's look at it here. I got the stats up right here. Edwards went 9 of 22 from shooting, 1 of 5 from three-point. They didn't shoot good from the three-point line. I don't think they took a lot of good shots. The Warriors were 43% from the three-point line. Okay, so the one thing I want to touch on here, which I believe had a pretty good effect on this game, was the situational advantage or the tactical advantage. All right, so if I'm game planning for this team to run the ball, or no, let's not switch the sport, my bad. If I'm game planning for Steph Curry to be out here, run through screens, him stretching the court out, spacing everybody out, that's what I'm focused on right here. So this flipped the game plan on his head. Okay. So we're looking at arguably one of the best coaches to ever coach the game, and Steve Kerr versus the coach of the Timberwolves. I forgot his name. Guys, forgive me for a quick second. Okay. Yeah, so the Curry injury affected the game. It switches the game plan on its head when you're not worried about attacking Steph Curry. You know, that's what you watch film on. That's the 7 games they played against the Rockets. That's what the Wolves watch film on. And now that completely changes. Okay. And one thing in particular, so the Warriors do have a better defense than the Lakers at this point. You know, I know the Lakers had a good rush and good push with defense, but they're just missing too much. All right. Especially on the perimeter, the Warriors attack better. They bring better ball pressure. And so what I saw in this game was them blitzing guys on the perimeter, Anthony Edwards, etc., and forcing them to make quick decisions and make mistakes and just get some bad turnovers in this game, okay? So that's one thing right there. Then you have just different versatile defenders. I mean, Draymond Green is arguably the best defensive player in this era. Yeah, that's crazy to say. Not really. And then you have Jimmy Butler, just an all-around two-way player, playoff Jimmy. And what's funny was he was on Rudy Gobert, so I'm not sure how much work Rudy Gobert was giving him. I think Rudy Gobert scored, 7 points, but he isn't 9 points, but he isn't really a crafty, work in a post center. He's going to catch alley-oops, get some fast breaks or, some off the bounce kind of plays. But yeah, so the defensive game plan was definitely adjusted to those guys. And then just guys stepping up, You see Steph Curry is in there. It's like, damn, we're down our guy. That is the guy. I don't know if y'all saw in the interviews, but even Jimmy Butler's like, that's our guy. Like, we need Steph Curry out here. So that sense of urgency, you can just see it in these players' interviews in their eyes and how they played. I mean, you even had Draymond shooting some threes. I think Draymond had – I know he had at least 2. Let me see if he had 3. Damn. All right. So Draymond was 40%. It was 4 from 10 from 3. That gave him the green light on that. It's like, Draymond, if you got the shot, take it. And let me shout out Buddy Hield right here. Buddy was 7 of 19 on the night, 24 points. And he made some big, big shots, man. He made some huge shots. He was even applying a little bit of rim pressure. Not a whole lot, but, he was getting down there, getting in some work, getting that forearm in, getting a little bit of physicalness with the Timberwolves. So, yeah, guys like that stepped up. Jonathan Kuminga, one guy who was just not playing in games in the last series. I mean, he got some burn when Jimmy Butler went out, but, and they ran through a lot of bench guys. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bench players got some tick in this game. All right. So the Timberwolves, man, you guys got to bounce back from this, or you're going to be looking like the Cavs, who are 0-2 right now in their series. But so with the Steph Curry injury, it's the hamstring. I've never had a hamstring injury before, but it's not the worst and most painful injury, but it is an ailing injury that you need to nurse and take your time with. And they got this game won. They popped out on them. I think, like I said, I think a lot of it was just the adjustment factor, and that Steve Kerr and the Warriors were just able to adjust to this and bring a dimension of the game that the Timberwolves weren't ready to play against. So I don't think the Warriors can win this series without Steph Curry here. So we'll see how that goes, but hamstrings at least a week. So you're looking at least 3 or 4 games without Steph, and who knows what can happen then. So let's keep our eye on that. Hopefully this is a bang it out series. We get 7 games and Steph Curry does come back full power. Okay. Pacers and Cavs. Cavs, what the hell we got going on? I watched the first game. Andrew Nembhard hit some crazy off balance, deep 3-point shots. And then this last game, the Cavs were up by double digits. Now, let me say this one thing. Let me give them a little leeway. They didn't have DeAndre Hunter, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley in the lineup. So they were down 3 of their starters, I believe. So, but that's no excuse to what happened in this game. They were up by 7 points with 1 minute left. Just costly little mistakes. Like it was Smith, I think. All right. So yeah, we had Aaron Nesmith come through with a putback dunk on a foul shot, free throws from Halliburton. Dude, you don't let I mean, come on, dude. You don't let somebody on the back end come and get a putback dunk off of a free throw, especially in the clutch time like that. Just little things. And they had another offensive rebound off of off of a free throw in that last minute. I know Miles Turner jumped up, used his length and athletic ability, popped the ball. Halliburton got it. And I think that's how they got the last 3-point shot off. That was a freaking heartbreaker. I know it was. That was sad to see. But the Cavs, I know they were down their guys, but just those key moments in those little situations where you're not focused and things like this happen. So this is on them. This is on them big time. And now they're down 2-0 to a hungry Pacers team who went to the conference finals last year, who's been here before. So Cavs, they're on the hot seat right now. I know there was a big game from Mitchell, 48 points. I mean, 50% from the field, 1 for 7 for 3-point shots. But Cavs, y'all on the fence, dude. You can't drop two first games at home like this. And like I said, there's no excuse with the players missing. They had the game. They were up 7 points the last minute left of the game. So we can't be having this. All right. And I'm recording this on this Wednesday, guys. The Knicks, they stole that first game from the Celtics. Celtics took a lot of bad shots. Knicks came up clutch in the end. And honestly, looking from that standpoint, that game, it just looked like the Knicks wanted it more. We're going to see tonight, though. They're still playing in Boston. We're going to see. And the Nuggets took one from the Thunder at home. The Nuggets more experienced in the situation. And it looked like they were getting beat down, but they were sticking in the game, scoring back. They never gave up. Nikola Jokic never gave up in that game, was harping at his teammates, fussing at them. And that's just the things you like to see from your superstars, especially in these playoff moments, all right? So, hey, let's keep it moving, guys. All right, and I haven't done